we dive into the work of S.C. Sayles, specifically a fascinating and, let's say, thought-provoking book sample called The Recovery of the Soul, the Informational Architecture of the Mind. So, what's the big question in Sayles' work? Sayles wants to know, what is the soul really, and how does it relate to psychology? But it's more than that. It's about whether reducing psychology to just like brain chemistry or behavioural patterns actually loses the whole original meaning of the field. Why is that important? Well, Sayles makes the case that psychology, at its core, is supposed to be the study of the psyche, which literally means the soul. So, if modern psychology ignores this, are we missing something fundamental about what it means to be human? And okay, this is a big claim. According to Sayles, the soul is, get this, not just some fuzzy spirit stuff, but is actually a higher dimensional creation. He introduces concepts like the second Shammai, which, as best I understand it, is this biblical or metaphysical realm, the mind's actual domain beyond physical space. The soul, he says, operates within this higher reality. And it's not just an emergent thing from the brain, but it actually underpins our consciousness, perception, even our sense of memory and will. Pretty wild, right? And the framework, the whole thing is built on what he calls a logos-centered psychology. Logos refers to the word in biblical thought, like the underlying pattern or logic of the universe. So in this model, true psychological health comes from being aligned to this foundational truth or order, kind of like tuning an instrument. But the metaphor Sayles uses is really more like computers. When we move away from that logos, the soul experiences what he calls entropy, the progressive disordering or breakdown of the psyche. Imagine like a signal filled with static, or a map where all the coordinates have been scrambled. Methods-wise, okay, this isn't a typical experimental or quantitative psychology book. This is more philosophical, bringing together theology, history, cultural psychology, even some neuroscience to argue for a new integrated model. He references everyone from Plato and Aristotle to Freud, Jung, and William James, pulling from a broader tradition rather than strict data-driven science. So, if you're more empirically minded, you might find his style a bit surprising. Now, the core insights. What's tangible here for you and me? First, Sayles argues that modern psychology has wandered away from studying the actual soul and gotten stuck analysing just behaviours and neurons. He says that's, in his view, reductionist, and actually can lead to a kind of fragmented approach to mental health. If you're wondering why mental health sometimes feels more like symptom management than true healing, well, this is his diagnosis. For him, genuine mental wholeness comes from reconnecting to the deeper spiritual or foundational order of reality, and he proposes that our ability to perceive, interpret, even remember is all shaped by whether we're oriented towards truth in the logos or stuck in misinterpretation or darkness. There's actually a lot about perception. He says that seeing the world clearly depends on your mind being aligned toward truth, and distortion creeps in when we let go of this anchor. There's even a concept of cultural entropy. If a whole society loses its bearings, you get collective misinterpretation, a group-level confusion about what's real, what's good. Maybe one of the most intriguing and sure controversial claims is that real healing of the psyche can't happen with just surface therapies. It needs a kind of spiritual or existential rerouting. And, you know, even if you don't share Sayles' specific beliefs, there's something here about taking the big question seriously. Like, why do we think what we think? Where do our maps of meaning come from? Are we just brains bumping into each other? Or is there a deeper architecture that shapes not just our thoughts but our hearts? So what does all that mean for you as a listener? At the very least, this work invites you to reconsider what makes psychology meaningful, or what makes you whole. Are you satisfied treating symptoms, Or do you long to ask those bigger questions, to integrate science, philosophy, and maybe even spirituality? Is there a way that pulling together these traditions could just maybe help us recover a sense of purpose, clarity, or even joy? Those are the kinds of questions Sayles is raising.